Oh, that was faster than it ever is. Whew. Oh boy. We are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive, everybody. Tuesday, January 13th, 5-game slate. We do have 7 games overall, but 5 games on the main. 1 at 7:30, 4 more at 8, and then we are just locked and loaded for the rest of this. We've got a lot to break down, including the overwhelming ownership coming into Naz Reid and to Bones Highland. You should be loving that. But we'll get into every single bit of that over the next hour. And then you guys get another hour of Live Before Lock. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter at Josh Engleman, at Chris Spags. What's up, brother?
I'm glad to be here with you, Josh and I, before the show, nerding out on our gains and Claude-based programming, which Josh is, as you guys see on the strategy show every morning, is like a tier above with building these things that I think are really interesting, fun tools, stuff like the, your King of the Mountain kind of gambling things and all the sim stuff you build into your things. But I got my stuff going too, where for me, it's much more simplistic, building off my own Excel spreadsheet. But I got to say, if you guys are out there, stochastic data, definitely a thing you could play with in some of these environments. But I feel like the AI coding world, Josh, and we were talking about before the show, I know we were on the same page, but for the people out there, so many strides, even like a year ago, I was like driving myself up a wall on Replit. And now I'm like, oh my God, it's like a beautiful thing that actually does everything I do in Excel, but infinitely better.
Yeah, it's taking massive leaps daily. It's fun to see. Some of these teams in the NBA that are playing today are not taking massive leaps on a day-to-day basis. We're going to want to take a massive leap off of something tonight, depending on how this Minnesota game goes. That's not going to be the first game we break down, though. We're going to take our time. We've got plenty of it to walk through all 5 of these games. And I think the most interesting game to talk about is actually Phoenix and Miami, because it's siloed from the rest of the slate, and trying to figure out what you want to do in the one game you can't control before anything locks. Like, this one stops, and then we end up with whatever the hell we end up with after our next set of swaps. Phoenix has essentially everybody available. Booyah still out with the concussion. Otherwise, Goodwin is in. For Miami, we're waiting on news for Norm Powell. We don't know his status officially yet. He is questionable. Otherwise, they've got everybody they typically have. There's not a ton of ownership coming in here. About 15% to Mark Williams, about 15% to Dylan Brooks, just shy of that for Devin Booker. And then everybody else is below 10. Norm Powell is next for Miami. He's the highest owned Miami guy at 9%. We don't even know if he's playing. So there's no breakaway plays in this game. We don't have anybody sitting out today and massive underpriced dudes. Do you like anything in this game?
I mean, like is a strong word, but I do think Dylan Brooks is a guy that I've been willing to get to a lot. And, he's definitely had some down days, but lately we've seen, the ceiling being a little bit higher as he adds a few more peripherals as opposed to just scoring. But scoring for Dylan Brooks this year, for a guy who's 6,100 on DraftKings, 33.6 points per 100. Devin Booker at 36.2. It's obviously, a bit of a gap there, but for everybody else in the team, there's nobody above 25, really. I mean, Mark Williams at 25.1. So Brooks is really your number 2 scorer. He's putting up, just shy of 1 fantasy point per minute. And versus Miami, you do get some more pace. You get some decent wing defense as well. I think Brooks is really the only player here. I mean, I'm above the field now. I'm getting 19%. The field at 14. Booker, I think you make the case for, South Beach flew aside with him, a guy that is maybe known to go a little bit wild at times. Perhaps in Miami, he's getting the James Harden treatment. But for Devin Booker, I think at his ownership under 5%, at under 15% rather. But for me, under 5%. I think for Devin Booker, he's one of those guys too, where he doesn't project super well for me. But I think there's upside there. And Mark Williams, I don't really see it being a Mark Williams spot. I feel like he's more of the guy, like, take him against the Pelicans. You feel good about that. Shots hit that ceiling. Against Miami, against Bam and Ware. I don't know that he's a perfect fit against that, but I get the field being there, I suppose. For me, though, I'm fading him. So I'm not getting to Booker. Think there's game theory logic there. Brooks, I like. Mark Williams, I'm not really on. And Powell, I'm okay with. So I could totally fade this game entirely, but I'm with you that it is mostly unknown. And if you needed some part of this game, it'd be kind of a bummer with the entire slate ahead of you after that.
For the most part, we're on the exact same page. Like, I don't have an individual piece that truly stands out. The guy that I have the most of right now is Bam. I have about 20% of him. And just given what the 8 o'clock slate looks like and him being a center, I don't really hate that all that much. Mark Williams is terrible defensively. So I like that spot. I'd like it a lot more if Norm Powell ends up out. I think that's a big benefit for Bam in this spot. So I don't mind getting Bam as like a slightly different center option, given what's out there for today. I am neutral on Mark Williams. I never know what to do with this guy. He's a complete mystery because he's just as likely to play 21 minutes today as he is like 29, but his projection is always like 24 and a half. And if today just happens to be one of the days where he plays 28 or 29, he's underpriced because he's good offensively. Like 5,500 is the right price for this dude that has like, he's basically bimodal. It's never, he's never consistently playing the exact same amount of time. And at first during the season, like when I wasn't paying close enough attention to it, I was just like, oh, well, I guess that makes sense. Like Phoenix stinks. But Phoenix doesn't even stink, which is even weirder. But this guy just 8 straight games, 24, 22, 21, 21, 27, which like if I get a 27-minute game out of Mark Williams on this slate, I'm just happy by default. 25 and the one after that, like he just bounces around so much. And they've become so much more comfortable closing with Oso Ighodaro over Mark Williams because one of those guys can play defense and the other one can't. So it makes sense. If they're trying to get back into this game, I sort of like it for Mark Williams. He's not a guy that I want to have a stand on. I just happen to be around the field on him. The only guy that I'm over the field on is Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, I mean, like I think Bam has been one of the more disappointing players this year in fantasy. I mean, the fact that he's putting up 1.13 fantasy points a minute behind Norm Powell, behind Khalil Ware. Hero, I thought looked a little bit better last time out. Was probably the closest I think to Hero we've seen with all his injuries and all of that. He's not creating assists the same way, but I kind of feel like Hero and Bam both have suffered for giving more to Norm Powell in particular, but Ware taking a bit of a leap. And rebounding in particular, I think has taken some of that away from these guys that could have had otherwise. Because Hero would always pick up those cheap, kind of rip it and run it kind of plays off the boards. Adebayo too. I don't know. I think for Miami, it's hard for me to love anything here, but for Bam at 7K, like that does feel based off just historical pricing alone, like does feel pretty light.
Especially for the slate size too. I mean, I think Hero's interesting. If we lose Norm Powell, it feels like Tyler Hero is probably going to go like, especially if it happens at 7 o'clock, like the last news we get is that happening. $6,900 Tyler Hero feels like he's going to get slept on in this spot. Like, I think it's live for him to just play 34 minutes and be a normal dude and play Tyler Hero basketball if Norm Powell's not around, which would be pretty sneaky for a guy that's right now the 2, 4, 6, 7th most owned guy in this game. I think he gets real sneaky in that case. Because he's the first guy up to take any shot he wants after that. Like, now you're taking off a clone of Tyler Hero, obviously different basketball style, but like those two guys want to do the exact same thing. If you remove Powell, I think Hero is wildly underrepresented.
Oh yeah, I agree with that fully. I think if Powell's in, Hero has tournament upside, but 8% owned there. I think you're kind of getting what you pay for ownership wise. But I agree if Powell's out, I think Hero, like that's one of the inhibitors for him is just having another guy in there who you mentioned is just like pretty much 1-to-1 with Hero and, really very similar ways. Like in Hero's shooting well, like Hero's shooting 60% true shooting. He's good enough from 3, all that stuff. So like he does just kind of need more runway to get the shots up, to get the opportunities had historically, even if he doesn't rebound or get assists as much as he has in the past.
Is there anything else that you think will stand out if we lose Norm Powell? Are you going to get to your boy at all? Davion Mitchell, 4,900.
He's playing good minutes. I mean, about a 29.8 minute projection today. I could live with that. Not a lot of ownership, but projection wise right now I have him at a 4.8x currently. So if Powell's in, I don't really see getting there. I think Jaquez would look closer to playable if you get Powell out. I think really the biggest thing I'd expect, because you have enough guys that are already getting shots up within the rotation that'd be available, you just get a little bit better looks for Hero, a little bit better for Wiggins, a little better for Jaquez. Davion Mitchell, not going to gain usage, but maybe a little bit of usage and some more assist upside. I think they just all get incrementally better as opposed to like one guy looking a ton better, but Pele Larson would probably start in that spot, right? I would think.
That makes the most sense, right? He just slides back into that spot he'd had for whatever chunk of the, I don't know, what is that? No, probably November. He was basically the starter in that spot. That makes the most sense to me, I would imagine.
If 4,300, that would be not too bad for him.
I can see it. I don't hate it. Norm Powell available to play, so fuck it all, right?
Poor Pele Larson. He got his hopes up. He's watching. He's in the locker room right now. He's getting shots up. He hears us in his AirPods, and he's like, there's a moment that I don't know. He's like Swedish, right? He's got to be.
Powell Larson. Sounds right.
I may be starting. Oh no.
Naka, Sweden. There you go.
All right, so there you go. I was doing Swedish chef Eddie. Borka. Like, he's excited to start, but now he's not. It's Norm Powell.
It is Norm Powell. So obviously that doesn't make Tyler Hero look any better. Still think he looks sneaky today at 6,900, but the problem is Norm Powell is $200 cheaper with a better positionality and the same ownership. So makes it a little bit more difficult. Yeah, I wish I had like a fun takeaway. I wish I had an angle for this game that I thought was being underrepresented because of the way the slate's set up, but we don't. I don't think we have it, unfortunately. Let's check the FanDuel side, see if it looks any different. Zoom out, refresh. I'm slowly but surely learning how to operate this while I'm live. One of these days we'll get there the whole way. Boom. It's the same story. Dylan Brooks is 20% owned. Mark Williams is 17. Jordan Goodwin, Colin Gillespie, Devin Booker, Andrew Wiggins, Norm Powell, all 10 to 15% owned. Pretty much the same story on FanDuel as it is on DraftKings. Just like relatively flat ownership. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this next game. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's an interesting spot for Phoenix. Like, if I can get anything, I'd rather have the Phoenix side. I realize saying that I have Bam. To me, that's slightly different because he's like the good piece of Miami, not like a guy from Miami. I don't know. The Chicago Bulls are mildly shorthanded today for their matchup against the Houston Rockets. No Kobe White, no Josh Giddey, no Zach Collins. Julian Phillips questionable, which like in a way matters, but that's not really the talking point we're looking for. For Houston, no Dorian Finney-Smith, no Tari Eason. We are getting 23% ownership to Alperen Şengün, and then about 10 for Dosunmu, Buzelis, Amen Thompson, Kevin Huerter. I guess I'll include Trey Jones there. I'm going to say his name again. Hard to not like the Rocket side of this one. I assume you like something. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, on the Bulls side, I still am willing to get some guys here. I mean, the fact that you're missing Giddey, the fact you're missing Kobe White, you're talking about, collectively two guys that take about 60% of the possessions when they're on the court between their, their usage and their assist rate. So opening that up, I do think it's worth considering the Bulls at least a little bit, even though the total's pretty bad at 106.5 implied points. They're 12.5-point dog. Like, they really do feel like a team that's live to get absolutely smoked here. But Buzelis, really has been a big rate winner overall for having Giddey off the court. Now Kobe White's not going to hurt that. But I think Buzelis at 13% ownership, I'm getting 24. So I think that's a decent stand at 6,300. I have him going for about 1.08. Fantasy points minute today, but in general, he's at 1.01 this year with, Giddey in, mostly Kobe White mostly in. So I think Buzelis is worth the shot. Trey Jones should be, one of the bigger minutes winners. Stochastic has him playing about 29 minutes today. So the field's at 8%. It's a tough spot, but if they do somehow hang in this game against Houston, it might be because the point guard created some more shots, got some more opportunities for the other guys. So Trey Jones, 11% for me. It's not a big stand on the field, 8%, but I do think he does get a pretty big rate uptick here because of not having the two primary ball handlers for the team available. And in Dosunmu, same thing. Fields at 14. I'm getting 21. He's a very gritty kind of player that I think can maybe do it against Houston front. That's going to be pretty tough for everybody else as well. Herder, I got 12. Like, I just think when you miss Giddey and you miss Kobe White, even though the matchup is like the worst one, I wish they were playing Washington or something like that, or even New Orleans. You're missing those guys. I think you got to take shots on some people here. But Vucevic is the one I'm not getting to at all. I feel like that price tag against Houston, a little bit hard to get there.
You did shout out my boy. I've got 26% of Trey Jones right now. Now, I hate this matchup. Like, extra hate it. I like the minutes. I like the role. Thanks, Riggs. Please just barf in your dog bed while you're behind me. I like the role with no White and with no Giddey here. The rate changes seem to stand out for me in like a pretty big way. I actually put him as like my major wild card for King of the Court today. He shows up with like a percentage. It happened at least once in my sims that Trey Jones had the highest PRA of the day. So I shouted that one out today. I actually took Alperen Şengün, but I've got a decent chunk of Trey Jones. I've also got a decent chunk of 5% owned Jabari Smith. He was dreadful. I believe it was the last game. It could have been 2 games ago because they've been so bad lately. 6,200 power forward only. I think it's an amazing spot against this awful Bulls team. No one's going to him. I don't have to take like a massive stand for him, but that's a guy that I think is going to go overlooked a bit here. Not the best per minute guy in the world, but he's a 0.87 guy in our projections today in 34 and a half minutes. He's 5.5% owned. That's a kind of way that I want to try to get a little bit different here because he's got the good side of this matchup. And again, no Dorian Finney-Smith. No Tari Eason. Jabari Smith might play 40 today if it's competitive.
Yeah, I got 10% of Jabari Smith, so I guess that's nice to hear that sales pitch for you. And yeah, you're right, he's not been producing super well in the year. I was hoping it'd be up because it felt like he had some decent games early in the year, but only 0.86 fantasy points per minute, 55% true shooting, rounding up. He's not been awesome, but a spot against Chicago, more peripherals to go around, more shots to get, I think, for him. Open from 3 and maybe hit a few. I think that's all positive for Jabari. But I also got Amin Thompson at 13%. I got Şengün, like you, got him above the field, got him at 30% of my lineups in the fields at 23. I feel like Şengün is the one guy here who's kind of priced not for the situation they're in, where he's coming back in, but he's playing seemingly, mostly his full rotation. Stochastic has been playing 34.3 minutes today, which is just behind, Durant and Amin Thompson. So not too far off where, Şengün would be normally. I think the fact you're playing Chicago, playing a guy like Vooch, I think it all kind of grades out stylistically, the data as well of getting the pace up against Chicago. So Şengün's my favorite Rocket, but Amin Thompson, I feel like it's kind of spot too, without missing the true point guard. Like you mentioned, Trey Jones, I think he can hit filling in. If he doesn't hit though, maybe Amin Thompson just ripped the ball 8 times and had one of those days where he's running at the rim and getting that usage in a way that actually he makes his shots. So I think there's upside for Amin Thompson and Şengün the most.
I forgot to mention Şengün. He's the guy I have the most of any Rocket. I have 34% of Şengün. I typically do get to Şengün pretty regularly, but 9,100 power forward center eligible. Great flexibility and an amazing matchup against the Bulls. So I'm very happy to have him right around the field on Dosunmu, right around the field on Kevin Huerter, right on the field on pretty much everybody else. Vooch, Amin Thompson, Reed Shepherd. Do you have any interest at all in a $3,600 3% owned Aaron Holiday, the likely starter for Houston and the starter in their previous game?
So he was coming up for me earlier today, but then Stochastic updated minutes before the show, and he came down, I think, to 14.3 minutes. So now he's not coming up for me. But if you were to give him the starter level run, I mean, yeah, he would come up, I think, more because right now at 14.3 minutes, I have him at about 16.4 projection. Obviously getting a decent uptick, and potential here with that spot going against Chicago. So yeah, if he starts, I think I would have interest for sure because not a lot of great values on the slate, besides Bones Highland. And he'd be a pivot to Bones. If you play him with Bones, that's a way to really afford whatever else you want in that lineup. So not a big Aaron Holiday fan. He's only putting up 0.69 fantasy sports minute, which is not nice in this context. So not crazy about him, but spot seems to fit.
He feels sneaky today if he maintains that starting spot. There's enough minutes to go around that he could play 28 again today. And on a 5-gamer, like that could be enough if it breaks correctly. I think I only have 6% of him right now. I'd like to get a little bit more of that. I'm not going to love it, but I could offload at least a hair of Bones Highland if I need to. I don't think I'm going to want to do that. He's in everything. We'll get there. Are we missing anything else here in Houston and Chicago?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the Holiday thing is the one where, I'm glad you mentioned it because really he just came down to my data and I'm not usually top of mind with Aaron Holiday. But I think if he does start, like he really is going to be one of the better value plays in the slate. Reed Shepherd, I also got 6% of the fields at 5. I do think this spot too, if Aaron Holiday were to pick up any appreciable ownership, Shepherd being a pivot that could steal some minutes away and could be really productive perhaps against a team like Chicago with, again, no point guard play, nobody of note in that second unit. I think Shepherd not going to be a priority play, but a 5 to 10% play that I think you want to get some of.
All righty. Let's pull it up on the FanDuel side. I already forgot the game. Houston, Chicago. Happens every day. 28% ownership coming into Alperen Şengün on the FanDuel side. He's 9,400. Same positional eligibility, power forward center. Uzelis is 15. Trey Jones, Amon Thompson, Reed Shepard, Jalen Smith, Jabari Smith, all basically 10 to 15. Very minimal ownership coming into Kevin Durant. 6% owned on the DraftKings side as well. Certainly a guy I have no problem getting to today in a matchup against the Bulls. We probably didn't say enough about Kevin Durant.
He's overpriced on both sides. I mean, 9,300 on FanDuel seems pretty tough for me as well. I agree that he's low owned and against, a defense not going to do a whole lot. I could see the logic for the upside, but projection wise, like you really got to hold your nose in the projection and hope that, he's got to be your one like non-chalk piece, I think, in a lineup.
All right, everybody, stretch it out. Get ready. We got to the main event of the evening right now. So loosen up, buckle, uncomfortable conversation incoming. So before we get, that helps us out. We want to run that number up for the NBA Warlock crew. And then you can see it ticking across the bottom of the screen. Click the link in the description of this video. If you want to sign up through one of our partners, a pick'em site or a sports book, and you've never signed up there before, and you're eligible to do so. If you're in a site or in a state where you can't do that, it unfortunately doesn't work the same for you guys. You can sign up through one of those partners. You make a qualified deposit at their site. They're probably going to give you something, bonus bets or a deposit bonus. You'll give us nothing at all. You'll get a month of the Sims for free. And if you sign up for more than one of those partners, that's more than 1 month. 3 partners, 3 months of Sims. It's that simple. You'll pay us nothing. You can check all of this stuff out that we're sharing on the screen for free for at least a month, if not more, depending on how many you sign up at. So link in the description. Make it easier on yourselves. I'm just going to bring up Minnesota on their own for right now. I don't think it's all that interesting to talk about the Bucks until we get to the Bucks. The Bucks are 3.5 point favorites at home against the Wolves, 229 total. So the Timberwolves will be without Rudy Gobert, who is suspended for racking up flagrant fouls. No Terrence Shannon. And no Anthony Edwards, which is creating a situation where we have a $3,100 point guard, shooting guard eligible Bones Highland projected for 86.5% ownership and more optimal rate. We also have Naz Reid at 6,100, power forward center eligible at 80% owned. Julius Randle's 40% owned. DiVincenzo's 30% owned. Conley is 30% owned. McDaniels is 25. Jalen Clark, Rob Dillingham, anybody else essentially not owned. I think we could start in the most simple place. I don't think there's a ton to add here. Even if he doesn't start, he's still awesome. Assuming Bones Highland is in the starting lineup for the Wolves today, I have no idea how you get away from this. This is one of the best plays we've had all year.
Yeah, the last time that he played with Anthony Edwards out, looks like it was December 17th. Played 34 minutes in that spot. Didn't play super well in terms of usage, only a 17% usage rate, but still put up 12 points, 25 DK points. So more than enough, I think, to make it in at 3,100 today if he puts up a similar amount of production. But the fact you're missing Gobert too doesn't hurt either. And I'm with you. Like Bones Highland, he's produced 1.1 fantasy points a minute when you take Anthony Edwards off the court, when you take Rudy Gobert off the court. No reason to assume that he doesn't get there. One thing that spooks me the littlest amount is that, like, you do have Conley, you do have Dillingham, you do have ways you can move away, from Bones Highland and Dillingham in particular. Some trade rumors floating around for him. Maybe it's a good spot to showcase him a little bit because you have the room to get him out there. And he's shot so terribly this year at 41% true shooting, the limited amount of time that he's played. He's probably due to shoot better just because of how bad he's been, like, law of averages, I think, for Rob Dillingham at this point. But I think if you ignore that stuff, like Bones Highland, a great play. Got him in 87% of my lineups, just basically holding hands at the field. But I think he's your guy, your value play. And like Josh mentioned, I do think he's one of the better value plays with the assumption that, he'll just get, a lot more minutes than, normally here.
Yeah, like we have him in for 26 minutes and he's still this. Like you give him 20 minutes and he's still probably like a 50% optimal guy just based on his rates, his MPE, and where that price is. I don't know how to dodge something like Bones today. How do you feel about a $6,100 Naz Reid? Because obviously he's underpriced for the role that he's about to play today. and they don't really have anybody behind him that can come and save the day in this case. 80% ownership to Naz Reid feels a tad high.
Yeah, I agree because his rates don't really come up an appreciable amount. I mean, he's averaging 1.11 fantasy points per minute. And, technically without Gobert, without Anthony Edwards, he's producing like 1.07. And certainly that's close enough that it could just be running bad on a few plays and that's it. But it's not like he's taking a massive jump up. It's not like the usage is taking a massive jump up either. He just kind of seems like the same guy. But, more guaranteed minutes for sure. I mean, how do you even say, is it Joan Berenger? Is his name actually Joan on the team?
Jean Berger.
Is this Jean? So he's French?
Yeah.
Okay, so Frenchie, Jean Berger here. Like, can he pull a Tolu Smith? Can he like take minutes away from Naz Reid? It doesn't feel
By the
like
way, it's actually Johan.
It's Johan. Okay.
Johan Berenzi.
Wasn't there an actress, Joan Berenger or something? I feel like that's like a Family Guy joke. I don't know. No, maybe not.
I don't know.
Like, can he take minutes away from Naz Reid, or is Naz Reid just like locked into the minutes no matter what? Because that's the one thing I'm like, that's the only critique I can give for Naz. That like, can he just lose minutes to somebody else on the team? And Berenger would be the only one I think that stands out.
Leonard Miller too, potentially. He's bigger than he seems based on his positional eligibilities on DraftKings. Look, like, obviously, Naz Reid is an exceptional play. There's a reason he's got an 80% optimal. I'm not trying to like talk people out of Naz Reid. He's getting a giant expected minutes increase on a day where no one's behind him to slow that down. He's the one guy that I look at and think like, do I really need that much? Or are there other 6,100 guys out there that I could pivot to in a 70,000 entry zone contest on DraftKings today? That's my only thought. Like, if you're playing a cash game, the first two names you click are Bones Highland and Naz Reid. And Naz Reid is going to make up a giant chunk of my lineups, but I doubt that I get all the way up to the top for him. Bones is in everything. Naz, a little bit less so. I've got 40% of Randall, which is right around the field. I don't mind that. I think the more interesting question now is, what do you want to do with the flat 3K Mike Conley?
I mean, Stochastic, if they're going to give him, 24 minutes and, not quite a perfect split with Bones Highland, I guess the expectation that they share a minute or two, but not a whole lot. I think he does look like a guy that you feel good about getting to at 3K minimum salary, a direct pivot, to Bones Highland. And he's not been great overall this year, 55.4% true shooting, 0.69, fantasy points per minute, but accounting for the matchup, accounting for no Anthony Edwards, I have him at about 0.83 fantasy points per minute today. And that's enough to get him, and currently for me, 60% of my lineups, which I don't love. As I'm sure it's a lot of then Bones plus Mike Conley, but they're both so cheap, and you are missing a really meaningful role with Ant out and Gobert out too. That'll add a few more rebounds to go around for whoever wants to grab them. So yeah, Mike Conley, not one of my favorite guys, but at 3K, I don't know how you don't get some.
Yeah, I have 44% of Mike Conley. That's happening uncomfortably. Look, 3,100 for Bones, 3K for Mike Conley. You really don't need a ton out of those guys. Actually, what do I have it at? What is my eggplant score for those two dudes? I mean, the Bones one's going to be real dumb. Actually, well, the Mike Conley one will technically be the better one because he's $100 cheaper, but the Bones one will feel more likely. Let's see. Yeah. So 26 fantasy points is the score you need from Bones Highland, where you're like, nice, he's probably going to be perfect for me. Well, he's projected for 25. We've got his boom rate at 53.5%. I think all of that checks out pretty darn well here when we look at someone like Bones. For Mike Conley, yeah, 23, anything north of 23 fantasy points for Mike Conley, and you're like, all right, that can work for me. That's a comically low number.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do a whole lot, but he really 11.5% usage on the year, 20% assist rate. He's Bones. Like, he should be Bones Conley because he's nothing left. He's dry Bones from Mario, where you hop on his head, he would just literally crumple into nothingness, and then maybe find a way to walk around again and get one more year of a check, because that seems to be his MO in the NBA right now. But yeah, like, I think those are two guys to get your shots, and then watch Rob Dillingham light it up today. It's like he's back in Kentucky.
Dante DiVincenzo, Jaden McDaniels. You got a preference between those two guys?
For me, it's Jaden McDaniels by a decent amount. I'm getting 43% Jaden McDaniels, 15% Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, Jaden does take a bigger jump up, it seems, in terms of the fantasy points per minute, gets closer to 1 fantasy point per minute, whereas DiVincenzo closer to 0.9. So I think for McDaniels, he's one of those guys where, to me, whenever Anthony Edwards is out, he pops up a little bit more. DiVincenzo, I don't have an issue with, but I like McDaniels a lot as a player. So whenever I get him, I'm like, it's fun to get him because he's like a great defender. And when you give him any more extra studio space to play with, I do feel like he usually comes through pretty well. But, to me, I don't really view DiVincenzo and McDaniels as like drastically different plays, other than positionality.
Yeah.
Small forward, I think it makes it easier to get to McDaniels.
Yeah, I'm like basically right around the field for both of those dudes. I don't have much of a take. A little bit lighter on DiVincenzo, I guess, technically speaking, but hard for me to break free there. I'm a little bit lighter on Naz Reid, and I've got I've got everything for Bones, and I'm over on Conley. It's just all Randall. Things Minnesota. Right around the field, 40%. Like, just tough to get away from, tough to prioritize. It's not like the price is light. He's obviously going to get more touches. Matchup's kind of weird. I keep just picturing Naz Reid getting 2 fouls in like 4 minutes and wondering if they go to Johan or to Leonard Miller more. I don't think any of those things are going to feel particularly good one way or the other. Do you think you're going to send out any flyers on Rob Dillingham?
No, I mean, projection-wise, it'd be hard to get there. I mean, I'm playing enough lineups in the $5 today that it might be worth just the lotto ticket a little bit when you do have, combined 117% of the field playing either Mike Conley or Bones Highland, like maybe just play the alternate outcome. I mean, really, if what happens here, and it's impossible because it's Milwaukee and like they just aren't, I feel like aren't that good in that way. But like if Milwaukee just bombed them from 3, beat them down really bad, Rob Dillingham getting there in garbage time while Bones Highland underperforms, Conley underperforms at the same price tag. There's like, a 5% outcome that happens at least. Yeah. I don't think it's crazy on that, but projection wise, like you just won't get there unless you goose everything really aggressively.
Well, it's not just one team in this game. It's also the Milwaukee Bucks on the other side of this one. And we're actually waiting on news from Milwaukee as well. Miles Turner questionable, which could really matter if we start jamming like Bobby Portis and Jericho Sims after this. So we'll see what it ends up looking like. Giannis is 25% owned. Kevin Porter Jr. is like 15. Everybody else is sub 10% right now. I have 40% Giannis, and I wouldn't be surprised if I end up with more. Why isn't he more owned? Like, this spot is infinitely better. The Minnesota defense is going to stink. And we have all the salary in the world to pay up for Giannis from guys that aren't at Giannis's position. He's so easy to get to. What am I missing today?
I mean, he was coming up a lot for me before in the stochastic sim with just stochastic data on it. I'm actually rerunning it now to see if that's still the case. But he, like earlier today, it was like 80% exposure to Giannis in the sim. That's come down now. So now he's actually coming in a little bit under. I don't know. I feel like he's worth whatever ownership he's going to get. I was getting him 30% before the show. I mean, he projects pretty well. The matchup, obviously, when you do lose Gobert, you have Naz Reid out there. You mentioned the foul trouble potential there. But also, just like Naz Reid, I mean, I think not a bad defender by any stretch, but I don't think the kind of guy that's going to keep Giannis from doing what he wants to do. And it does seem like game by game, he's rounding into 4 more and more, but the price tag down to 10.8 is the most reasonable it's been as well. So I think his biggest issue is just that he's deferred a little bit more to guys like KPJ, to Ryan Rollins this year, even to Portis, who's keeping a decent amount of usage at 23% on the season. But if you get Miles Turner out, I think then it gets a little bit easier to say that he's going to be probably a really good value at his price tag if he's not already. So Giannis, I agree. Like, I think he's a good play. I want to be above the field. I don't think he's like going to be in more than half my lineups or anything, but 33% seems about where I'm heading towards.
I have 40 right now, and I'd like for that to even be a little bit higher if it can, just because of the other pay up options that are out there right now. I find it, excuse me, very easy to get to them. I also have 30% of Kevin Porter Jr. at 8K. Again, I like the spot. Minnesota's defense is massively worse with Gobert and Ant not around. 14% owned KPJ. We know that he's going to do a shit ton while he's out there. I have 30% of him. I like taking some stand. If I'm going to have this much Minnesota on the opposite side, I'm getting to the two best pieces from Minnesota or from Milwaukee right now. I have a little bit of Ryan Rollins. But if we get the Miles Turner news, I mean, $5,300 power forward center Bobby Portis is about to become very popular very fast.
Yeah, Kuzma comes in play a little bit more there too. I mean, I'm not a Kuzma guy, but he's not been bad this year. 0.9 fan sports minute. He's shooting well again after being such a disaster on that front last year. They would become more interesting if Turner were out. And I agree with your take. Like if you're going to play a bunch of Minnesota, it does make sense to try to get, one bring back with that and capture the whole game environment being that productive.
I love it. You want anything else here from Milwaukee?
I like Ryan Rollins. My data always is kind of predisposed to him because he has filled it up a few times this year when, he's had the full run of the castle. But the fact his minutes are more secure, that he's going to play potentially 30 plus in most spots. It's not just him getting, minutes jacked by Kevin Porter Jr. over and over again. I think it's a positive for him. He's producing 1.03 fantasy points per minute. Can always get hot from three as well. So I like Ryan Rollins more than KPJ today. I'm getting him in about 25% of lineups right now. I don't know if that exact number holds for Rollins, but he's the guy I'm getting the most as a bring back besides Giannis.
All right. On the FanDuel side, the ownership is way less extreme. Bones Highland's 4K. He's 60% owned. Still the most owned guy. Still, you want to get to him. Randall at 8,100 is 45% owned. Naz Reid is 7,500 on FanDuel. So he is 25% owned on FanDuel. And what was it on draft? 75% owned on DraftKings or something? So very different play. Ryan Rollins is 25% owned on FanDuel, as is Jaden McDaniels, as is Dante DiVincenzo. Porter's 25. Giannis at 11.4, just 20% owned, but the value is very different here. And then obviously, holy shit, Miles Turner's 4,800 on FanDuel. Huge.
He's been so bad, though.
He's been so something, that's for sure. I can't wrap my head around it. The whole Milwaukee scene is weird. Ultimately, this is the game. This has the overwhelming majority of ownership in it right now, and we're still waiting on a piece of news that could change up what we're getting here, depending on what happens with Miles Turner. Anything else you want to add, Minnesota and Milwaukee?
What would you do ownership-wise if you saw Bones weren't starting? Like, he's projected for 85, 90%. Like, you just shave him down to 50, call it a day? Do you move off him meaningfully and just let the field hold the bag as he's becoming a worse play?
Yeah, I figure he ends up in like the 50, 60, 70 range for me instead of 100%. Because, like, realistically, we're not going to be bringing his minutes down dramatically, and he's still going to project as probably the best point per dollar play of the day. So I don't think it would move all that much for me.
Yeah,
I hope that doesn't happen.
He'd become in half my lineups play, I think, because I'd be like, I still want to get the upside shot here, but if it's like Conley starting, I'd probably end up with the same amount of assload of Conley I'm getting anyway right now. But I think for me, it'd just be like, I would want to get less Bones because I do think he'll be overowned at that point if he's just coming off the bench.
The Denver Nuggets are in New Orleans, 1.5 point favorites. The Nuggets are, that is. 232 total. No Cam Johnson, Christian Brown, Joval, or Jokic for the Nuggets. And Q tag on Jamal Murray, which is really going to cause some havoc if he happens to be out. Also makes me like Giannis a little bit more if you're not paying the $9,800 salary for Jamal Murray. On the Pelican side, Sadiq Bey is back. Jose Alvarado, Herb Jones still out. 45% ownership coming into Aaron Gordon at 6,500. He got the start at center last time out. Deron Holmes not going great for him. 20% ownership coming into the questionable Murray. 15 for Zion and Queen and Trey Murphy. Sub 10% for everybody else. Shout out Peyton Watson. I need you to drop a 50 bag tonight. That's my FanDuel jackpot bonus pick for today. I took Peyton Watson in King of the Court. No. I took Peyton Watson in 50-point jackpot. I took Alperen Şengün in King of the Court. I thought I flip-flopped them in my head. I recommended Peyton Watson in both. Trey Jones was like the flyer I tweeted out but didn't take.
Oh, okay, got it. I was like, man, you're just taking these guys. You got too many contests now to keep track of.
It's Şengün on DraftKings and it's Peyton Watson on FanDuel. What do you want to do here with Aaron Gordon? That's a healthy amount of ownership, but him at the 5 against the Pels feels pretty good.
I mean, the biggest thing that stands out is that, the fact that he got to 31 plus minutes last game is like a really nice, move after being minutes limited for so long, playing off the bench, coming off the injury. But yeah, I think I'm willing to be here, especially, I mean, the matchup alone, just going against the Pelicans, like it's totally fine to take anybody I think you want here for the most part. If you get Jamal Murray out, though, I think Aaron Gordon would be unavoidable. I think Peyton Watson's putting up without Jokic, without Joval, without, I think, Christian Brown as well in the sample size. He's putting up like 27% usage, getting a lot of shots up. Obviously, some of that is with the team being totally skeleton crew mode. But like Watson's one of those guys where if you just see him, you see the box score results, but you don't watch him. He's really like good from the mid range. Like he's rounded his game out in a way that I've been kind of surprised by. His true shooting on the year over 61% basically. He's looking really good. So I think Watson to me, I definitely feel like I have him a little bit over projected, but I am getting him 5x the field right now. So I'm getting him in 40% of lineups. Big stand there. I don't know if it's going to hold. I might get closer to 27% or something, but I will be over on Peyton Watson as well. Gordon and Watson, I think, look good. Jamal Murray, if he plays, about a 20% play. I'm with that. I like the Nuggets a lot here because you're facing the Pelicans and pace down, but one of the worst defenses in basketball, giving up about 123 points per 100 possessions. I think the Nuggets are in a really good spot to take advantage of them being depleted a little bit roster-wise right now.
I didn't think it was possible for somebody to like Peyton Watson more today than I do, but shout out to you. Miles Turner out.
Ooh, okay.
You hear that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Out. Okay. It's going to make the Bucks look wild. I have 20% of Peyton Watson right now, so I don't have the same stand you do, but still over the field. I've got 48 of Gordon. I'm having trouble getting away from that value. I have 28% of Jamal Murray. If he's in, I'm pumped. If he's not, easily swappable around considering there's 4 games locking at 8 o'clock. I've got 24% of Derek Queen, which I'm fine with. This is not the same Nuggets team. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a decent enough spot for Queen. Got a little bit of Tim Hardaway. He's just letting it sail with all these guys out. No reason I see that stopping. I don't have any Zion right now, and I barely have any Trey Murphy. That part kind of scares me at least a little bit given this matchup, but can't play everybody, I guess.
Yeah. I like the New Orleans side a little bit more for a few of the guys like Derek Queen and the spot. I mean, this is not a perfect situation. This is total narrative based, but he looks like a good day to play. So let's say that first. The second part for Derek Queen is like, he's talked about enjoying these matchups a lot. Like he likes to go against LeBron. He likes going against Jokic. Like he wants to go against Embiid. I do think in this spot going, and I assume, Jokic will be in attendance. I don't know for sure that'll be the case because it is a road game, but I think he would be mad about showing off a little bit here against the Nuggets team where you're playing Aaron Gordon at center. I mean, Queen, he's an absolute chonker out there. Like he needs to lose 20 pounds, I think that's a fat shame the guy, but like he needs to get into like professional NBA shape, but like he's a big dude and he's going to get, I think a lot against these guys if he can, and obviously can put up that triple double upside. So for me with Derek Queen getting 25% right now, I like that stand. Getting Trey Murphy at 13%, not a big stand there, but I like being with the field on him pretty much on any slate. And Zion, I'm not getting to. I just feel like he's deferring a lot to the other guys, which is great for him. But I think Queen and Murphy are they're fun plays on every DFS slate. And those price tags for Queen in particular, I still think Queen's priced right now.
Have you learned no lessons through your life?
Well, it's okay for a man.
So, okay. Look, you're the boss on this one. You know better than I do, but if I were you, I probably wouldn't go back to that same well.
I didn't compare him to a certain pop star. I didn't say they had the same body type. I didn't do that. Just said Derek Queen, he's a little bit of a chonker right now.
Okay.
He's cute. He's like a cute chonker. He's like a Sharpay. He's like Derek Queen. But he's got to take it a little seriously. I think he's got a Jokic shape.
To be fair, you're correct, but wild for you to take that shot. You're a braver man than I, man. Sheesh. Let's take a look at this one on the FanDuel side. A little tiny bit different just because of price tags and such. Same story for Aaron Gordon, 45% owned. No real difference there. Murray, 27, pretty much the same story here. Peyton Watson, Trey Murphy, Zion, all right at that 20 mark. Then it really falls off. Bruce Brown's 10, Hardaway's 10, Derek Queen, who's 7,200, is only 9% owned here. Fears isn't really getting much love. It's still mostly the same dudes from Denver. And then if you want to take a shot on the actual talented Pelicans, you can go that direction. We still got one more game to go. Go ahead.
A lot of Aaron Gordon on both sides. Like it really, it's a big stand. I get it, but hope he's full health. Hope he's good to go. Playing 31 minutes, maybe giving everybody, including me, a little too much hope.
While we're not getting this one at full strength, this is absolutely the main event of the evening when it comes to wanting to watch a basketball game. The number 1 in the West, Oklahoma City Thunder. The number 2 in the West, San Antonio Spurs. Now, for the Spurs, no Devin Vassell. For the Thunder, no Isaiah Hartenstein. Also, no Lou Dort, who got ruled out basically just before this show started. Now, there's no real ownership coming into this game. Caruso's 13, SGA's 13, Chet and Wemby are both 10. Everything else falls off here. We obviously know, if you've been paying attention, that the Spurs have had the Thunder number so far this season. I can't imagine the Thunder like that at this moment. This feels like it could be a real game. And I would like to have a little bit more of the best stuff in this one if I can. I don't have it yet, but I want to.
And I think that's a totally reasonable take because, the concern for OKC in so many of these spots this year is that, can they play 4 quarters? And obviously they've been losing a lot lately, so they can. But, right now in this spot, playing 4 quarters when they have openly talked about how the Spurs have their number, like they know that Wemby's a really good matchup against them. They think it's not a great fit. Like there definitely is like a chip on the shoulder for how it looks for OKC right now. And for Wemby too, like Wemby and Chet hate each other, which is so silly because they have no real reason to hate each other than the fact they both shoot threes and they're both tall and they block shots and then they're both skinny. Like, so what? Like, it's fine. It's, you're not really like rivals like that. They haven't fouled each other to death and like injured each other or anything. But they have a blood feud going on. Wemby, I'm getting to today. I never get Wemby on this run with his minutes being limited lately, but getting him at 14% of my top 150 fields at 10. I think it's mostly because of the fact you just have so much money to go around the slate and like you can't take Giannis in every lineup, so you get Wemby a little bit. But I think for the Spurs side, it's really only Wemby for me. Like Vassell being out, the matchup with Thunder doesn't really help out anybody else enough projection wise for me. Fox and Castle, I think could do something in the spot, but I just don't see it in the projections enough to get there besides, 5% exposure for Castle, a little bit less than that for Fox. So the Spurs side's tough, but I think you can get to Wemby on the slate and minutes up this spot. The motivation he'll have going against his arch rival, Chet Holmgren. A little more of a Wemby spot than usual for me.
I've got 20% of Caruso. He's obviously looking a little bit better now with Dort out. This strikes me as the game that he plays 24 minutes and guards Wemby type stuff. I will happily take whatever SGA, Wemby, Chet, J-Dub to a degree, although I just don't think he's right. I've got 14% of De'Aaron Fox right now, who's 2.3% owned. Like that's the kind of thing at 7,400 that I'm more than happy to get to. If he's they're obviously not the same thing today, but like I look at De'Aaron Fox as a guy that can be in a lineup if I don't have Naz Reid. Like where you're not surprised at all if De'Aaron Fox just goes out there and plays like the De'Aaron Fox that like they traded for and want to be there moving forward. He hasn't had those sort of like amazing outlier games that you're really looking for. That's probably the reason he's 2% owned today, but that just feels like really slept on today.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to play Fox. I agree. I like Castle more. Like I just want Castle and Harper to play and like let them grow alongside Wemby. And Fox, I feel like is a little too the timelines. I don't think are 100% there, but it gets a playoff time. I'm sure they're going to give him a bunch of shots and I'll feel differently. But this honestly for them, playoff vibes for sure. I think for both sides. What are you doing with SGA today, by the way?
Right around the field right now. I have like 10%. Realistically, I'd like to get a little bit more given all this value. The problem is so much of that value is Bones Highland point guard. I guess you can get him at a shooting guard. Mike Conley point guard. If I'm trying to get sneaky, Aaron Holiday point guard. Like it kind of gets a little blocked off, but he might play 37 minutes today. Like that should be more interesting than sort of what the ownership we're seeing is right now.
Yeah. 14% expected feels pretty light. I mean, it's just shy of a 50-point projection. And, my projection, stochastic projection, I think for SGA, it's a little bit under where you'd want it to be. But if the field it's 14, I just feel like it does feel silly to be light on him on a slate where I think people are going to be pretty comfortable moving other ways. And two, frankly, with all the value at point guard, if you come over the top with SGA putting up 70 today in a spot where they have, clearly they want to show something against the Spurs. I don't want to be totally out on SGA today.
Well, we got the worst comment of the day in. Shout out to Homer. Fox is the 4th best player on the Spurs. I legitimately couldn't even figure out who 2 and 3 could be. Like, I'm pretty sure he's saying Castle here. I don't know who the fuck 3rd can be that Fox gets to 4th.
Harper.
And certainly not Castle, by the way. That's insane. But even if I'm assuming you're right, I have no idea who we're including here.
Yeah, I think he's saying Castle and Harper are better than Fox.
Which is so next level stupid. It's insane.
I don't agree currently. Castle, I think, has a shot to be better than Fox sooner than Harper does. But I would pay less money for Fox. I would just let the young guys grow out there and get more time. I don't like Fox being a bit of he's kind of like the Mitchell for this team where he's Mitchell blocking Garland's growth to some extent. I get why you do it because you want to have the trusted veteran hand, and Fox is going to be the guy you can trust to defend a lot more. But Castle, I just like Castle a lot, man. He needs to shoot better. But defense, assist game, he does a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Castle. The shooting's rough. I mean, obviously, the 49% true shooting for Dylan Harper, you're going to have a hard time stacking that up in front of De'Aaron Fox in this moment. That's preposterous to say. Truly insane take. 24.7% from 3 for Dylan Harper. But yeah, he's definitely better than De'Aaron Fox. Why wouldn't he be? That makes perfect sense. It's perfect sense. I'm convinced. I love this slate for how stupid it is. I'd give anything to have these games spread out so that we could late swap it a little bit more. I cannot wait to watch this OKC San Antonio game, though.
Yeah,
it's so
definitely
good.
going to be the most good real life game today, I would say, by a decent clip.
Do the Thunder get it done? I mean, they're 10-point favorites or whatever.
Yeah, I'll have the brave take that the minus 325 money line here team. I think they could win, but I really do think for them, I think they kind of I'll say get off. I think they really enjoy / they like to rise to the occasion of these kind of matchups against this a team like the Spurs, where it's okay, we got punched in the mouth. Let's see what we can do. Maybe that's not enough to beat the Spurs at this point because the Spurs kind of seem like they have their number. But it's also one of those things where I think the Thunder are a good team. The fact they've lost the Spurs this many times, just the regression, I presume, will come for the Thunder with any team. Thunder are so due to win if they lose to any team more than once.
We have 4 guys that are at least 40% owned. Bones Highland, Naz Reid, Aaron Gordon, Julius Randle. Which guy is most likely to make you hate your night?
If Bones doesn't start, I mean, I think it has to be him just because of, the amount of ownership that'll still be there no matter what. But I think Randall, I'm surprised I don't have better projected today. I'll get there. I'm above the field right now. I have him just shy of 45 fantasy points, but I really thought he would look like a world beater with Ant out, with Gobert out, and he's not quite there because the matchup with Milwaukee, I think you lose a little bit for that, and the total itself is not great. So I'll go Bones, but I think Randall's the one I've got a little more of a suspicious eye towards.
Naz is the guy that scares me the most. I'm really anxious to see what happens to his ownership now that Miles Turner is out. How does the Bucks game break? Do we end up getting some sort of preposterous Bobby Portis situation where these two guys are power forward centers stepping into bigger roles, and you could sort of soften that a bit? But if Naz Reid maintains that 80% ownership heading to lock, I will be lower than that. He will still be in a huge chunk of my lineups, but it'll be more 40 to 50 than 80.
Yeah, I mean, which is a fade, but it's really that's kind of fade that I like, where it's okay, you're still getting enough exposure there, but you're not dying on the hill the same way as everybody else. Frankly, there's a lot of slates I feel like you should do that across the board, but it's a really concentrated ownership today, and with all that money up top, I think just being willing to fade a little bit, not a bad move.
Specs, tell the people where to find you.
Check out my channel at Splash Play Pod. And also, too, if you want to learn more about what I'm doing, go to splashplaypodcast.com. You'll see some of the NBA tools that I'm building, trying to be like Josh, but being so far behind. I'm running several laps behind, but I'm going like this as hard as I can, pumping those arms, trying to build something even remotely as cool as you're doing. But that's the plan. And of course, doing streams for NBA Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. on my at Splash Play Bets channel. So check that out. Splash Play. To search it on YouTube, you'll find something.
Appreciate the verbal filleting there. NBA Live Before Lock is coming up now. Greg Ehrenberg, Eric Lindquist. It's game time, folks. We got a quick one today.
Yeah, kind of nice that FanDuel and DraftKings both lopped off the 10:30 and the 11 p.m. games. It feels like more often than not, one of the sites end up having it on, and then kind of creates an annoying situation where the slates are wildly different. And especially with Luka being questionable, it's kind of cool to not have to deal with that. Although I guess there would have been pretty good late swap leverage to be had in the event that Luka ends up sitting. But yeah, should be a fun sprint to lock. Just one game locking at 7:30. Then we've got all four of the rest of the games locking at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So Josh, Spags, good luck with your lineups today, and we'll see you guys later. It's Eric and I's time to shine now.
Later, boys.
Later, my guy.
All right, and Eric, we don't have too much injury news that we're waiting on for the slate, considering that we do have, like I said, Luka and LeBron. They're both playing in the later game. We do have Jamal Murray listed as questionable. We already got the Miles Turner news. He was one of the other guys that we were waiting on. The only other guy who's in the rotation at all right now that's listed as questionable is Julian Phillips. And then, of course, we've got a ton of the pertinent injury news already that's come to us. Anthony Edwards, is this going to become a really annoying thing with Edwards? Because he's been listed as questionable every single game for 2 weeks now. They finally ruled him out today. So obviously that's something that creates a whole bunch of value for today's slate. And then also Rudy Gobert being suspended. So we'll talk about some of the Jamal Murray and Anthony Edwards situations in a little bit here. But is Edwards going to be questionable every game for the foreseeable future now?
I mean, they gave it to us yesterday. What are you complaining about?
That he's listed as questionable for every single game?
Yeah, but injury maintenance, yeah, it's probably going to be something we deal with to a certain extent. And obviously, he was a Wolverine. This is like making up for lost time, I suppose. The last 3 years, we've ran really good because Anthony Edwards, every questionable tag, you just assume that he's in. This year is the first time that we've actually seen them leaning away from, just ramping him up every single game, realizing that, hey, the West is winnable. If you have anything happen to SGA Chet, anything with Jalen Williams, like injuries are a thing. And, Minnesota, their position, I mean, they've been to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. As long as Anthony Edwards is available, he can go out and win playoff series by himself. We've actually seen that multiple times in his NBA career already. So they're just being very, very cautious with him for the first time in his career. I think also realizing, hey, this isn't going to be your MVP year. He's going to have one in the course of his career. This is not it. So yeah, just kind of putting some bubble wrap on him. He's gotten in his own way a lot of the time with this. So as a fan of Minnesota, I'm actually pretty happy with it. I think the Q tags, well, you might find them annoying. At least we got this like the day before. I mean, I don't have a ton of complaints as long as they're giving us the news well ahead of time.
Well, this is the first time they have, though. Every other day, he's just been questionable, and I've assumed that it's Fugazi, but now he actually got ruled out for one of these games, so now we have to start taking them seriously. And we do have a question related to this, and also the Jamal Murray one, so we could tie this all together. But Langston Cole says top 3 Nuggets with Murray being out. Murray questionable, by the way. I guess you're just kind of wanting us to presume that Murray would be out in this scenario. And then top 3 Wolves with Ant out. So let's talk about the Murray situation first, because he's missed a couple of games with an illness. I presume he's going to be healthy enough to play now because it's been, about a week since he's been on the court. Usually we don't see guys miss 3+ games with an illness. So I think Murray plays. I think he's going to play today.
I'm very opposite of you. I'm like 80% sure he doesn't. I think one of the best things you can do right now while you are sitting on your apps right now is to single game parlay a couple of these plays together. I've bet a number of them already. Pickett, Watson, had a bunch of pick 'em where I was intertwining them as well. I basically was like, going through the roster and figuring out exactly what the minutes are going to be for guys like Aaron Gordon, Zeke Naji. I also bet him today. There's a lot of guys on the Denver side that I'm pretty interested in against New Orleans, 233 total. And I'm far more on the side that Jamal Murray doesn't play than you are.
Okay. Yeah.
And also we've seen Kristaps Porzingis. He's had like an irrational illness over the course of the last 3 years where he'll miss 2-3 week stretches. I'm not saying that he has like meningitis or something, but Jamal Murray, like illnesses tend to potentially linger a little bit longer these days as far as like what NBA players are going to play through. I think back in the day, they might have played through some stuff that maybe take a flu game off or something, not just citing MJ in the playoffs, but like a regular season game here or there that they probably played through where it would have made more sense to potentially put bubble wrap on them. But obviously this team has built in a little bit of a buffer for themselves. They're 26-13 right now. They're in a really good spot still for seeding. They need to get Jokic back. Duh. Best player on planet Earth. They need to have Murray healthy. Duh. They have nothing really else there, but I'm a pretty big fan right now of like as late as possible. I want that news to come out well after lock. That would make me very happy because I'm very confident, like 80% confident that he's not going to play.
Okay. So we will, we'll see. We'll see as the news comes out. One thing that is going to be nice about today's slate, I don't think we have to make that many accommodations considering that there's only one game that locks at 7:30. And I don't know about yourself, Eric, but looking at my lineups, I don't have a ton of exposure to the first game on the slate. So a lot of it is just going to be playing things as they are at lock. Yeah. And then after we're just kind of reacting to news as it comes. So let's answer Langston's question. We'll start with the Nuggets side. In the event that Jamal Murray does not play, who are your 3 favorite players to roster from Denver? Number 1 to me is super easy in Aaron Gordon. Who else, though?
Aaron Gordon's number 1 for you? Because, he's the most popular right now. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that could definitely change is you just 1-for-1 swap in a Jalen Pickett at 5K, Bruce Brown 4,100. Like, I feel pretty good about them being options. Yeah, I'll still say Aaron Gordon 1 just because he's pulling all the ownership that he is. And it probably doesn't change a whole hell of a lot there. Peyton Watson looks amazing. Peyton Watson was going to be nuke of the night. I landed on somebody else there as well. Once we got Norman Powell in, it kind of eradicated any interest I had in that first game as well. So I'm with you. I'm going to be cheering for absolute duds. I have a little bit of Devin Booker, and that is it. That is absolutely it from the first game. And I'm pretty confident that Peyton Watson, this usage has been just ridiculous for him, absent Jamal Murray on the floor, and then obviously Jokic as well. You look at what they've got behind him, Jalen Pickett. This is like a glorified 8-man rotation with a little bit of Hunter Tyson. It's absolutely insane how this is going. And Daron Holmes is kind of sent to the shadow realm now that Aaron Gordon's back. Boy, that didn't work out well for him. So it's a very consolidated rotation. Aaron Gordon was already popular. He was already somebody that we were going to be rostering, but Aaron Gordon 1, Jalen Pickett 2, Peyton Watson 2B. Don't even want to admonish the fact that 7,500 and I'm willing to pay that for him.
Yeah, one thing that was annoying about the home situation, you guys download the Tails app and follow Eric and I over there, is I had an under on Holmes posted the other day, thinking like, he's not going to play all that much. He was projecting well in Portfolio EV, and then it gets voided because he plays 0 minutes. The worst when you read the situation too well to the point where the bet can't even play because he plays 0 minutes. But I really like the unders on Holmes the other day. The other side of this, we have who are the top 3 Wolves with Ant out. So there's more than just Ant being out, which is going to influence some of this, like Gobert being out. So with that in mind, there's 2 guys who I just get in a shit ton of lineups in Bones Highland and Naz Reid. Like they are so clearly to me, not just the top 2 guys from Minnesota, but the top 2 guys overall on the slate. And then I think there's a handful of guys you could go with beyond those 2 that I group a little bit closer together. But just because he's so cheap, I'll go Mike Conley as option 3 for me at the mid price.
Love them all. Last night, I'm getting some really nice CLV. It was like 29.5 even money on Naz Reid. I've done a pretty good job the last couple of years of just figuring out how to run some kind of numbers night before. And it's not perfect and it hasn't been, but I'm always able to find outliers. When there are outliers and I'm looking for one play specifically night before, I can almost always do it. Naz Reid was an outlier, 29.5 PRA, even money. Ridiculous line night before. And he's going to play a boatload. I had him in for like 36.5 minutes I think I was on like the low end of where I woke up to everybody being at, like across the industry. So Nas Reed going to play an absolute metric ton. And yeah, Bones Highland has kind of been he's been getting the what is it? Like the ant bump, if you will. Anthony Edwards loves Bones Highland, like they're buddy, and they do everything together. They hang out together all the time. They're best friends or something now already. And since then, Bones Highland has just been a rotation piece. And he's like, we need to play Bones Highland more and more and more. And nobody saw that coming. I can tell you that much. His Clippers days were non-existent coming out of Denver, and rightfully so. He's been much better for us. He's been knocking down open shots. He's been nice in the rotation. He's also 3,100 today. We're just going to play a metric ton of him.
Do you remember the Bones Highland slate where I can't remember who was out for the Clippers at the time, but it was he was like 70% owned as a presumed guy was going to step in the line and played 0 minutes. Do you remember that?
Kind of do. I mean, we've done this for so long together. I can't remember that one specifically. I don't think I got burned by it that badly for some reason. I can remember the ones that really, really burned me. That one, either I must not have been on the show, must not have played, or I might have just been lighter on stuff because I've found ways off of some weird ones. But Bones Highland, yeah. If there was a min slate for him, he's always been a decent fantasy producer. That would really suck.
It was, I think it might have been like a night slate or something a couple of years ago, but whatever, just going on. I could also just be remembering wrong. Also possible. We got a super chat here from our guy, Zachary Cooper. He wants to know the top plays on FanDuel by position. So yeah, I'll go and pull up the FanDuel lineups that I have built out. And point guard's an easy one. They did do a marginally better job of pricing up the 4K. Minnesota guys, but still Bones Highland at 4K. He's your top point guard on FanDuel.
Yeah, and then it's him and Dante DiVincenzo, 1-2, both, point guard, and then going to shooting guard for DiVincenzo.
I am going to go with Kevin Porter Jr. at shooting guard for myself.
Yeah, this is going to be news dependent for me, obviously, because Jamal Murray would be the guy right now, but I don't think he plays.
Small forward. This kind of depends on the Milwaukee starting lineup, but I'll go Kyle Kuzma at 4,300 for now.
Yeah, I pre-built in. I'm playing 20 lineups over there today just to kind of track and, try to bing something for a low cost. But Peyton Watson.
Power forward Giannis, who's the top spend up option.
Giannis is the top. Yeah. I love Giannis and then love Aaron Gordon.
Center. Also, FanDuel, they did like Nas Reed is $7,500 on FanDuel. That creates way more of a decision point than when he is,
6,100.
Cheaper over on draft. Like $7,500, you have more of a decision to make over there. I'm going to go with a low-owned Wemby, expected back in the starting lineup tonight, $10,100. This matchup between the Spurs and the Thunder really seems to matter a lot for both teams. I think as cautious as the Spurs have been with Wemby, I do think it's not a coincidence that they're like, hey, time to get him back in the starting lineup for a matchup against the Thunder. He's $10,100 and sub 10% owned over on FanDuel. Give me Wemby.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Wemby is a very, very interesting thing. San Antonio doesn't plan a back-to-back. It's just sitting kind of on a nice little island here for them. So I think it's a good spot to ramp up Wemby. I didn't get a ton of him for what it's worth over on DK. Even at 9,500, that was a little surprising to me. But on FanDuel, where you can only play one, I think there's no question. Power forward eligibility probably helps a little bit, although on this slate with Nas, not so much. But 10-1 for him on FanDuel, where you get that buffer for blocks. It's very, very nice.
We got oh my God, I think he wants to fuck you. Sir Mackey loves pie. Oh, Lindy, my Lindy, take me to the promised land. All right.
Jesus. Also, what is that avatar?
I don't want to look too close because I don't. It could be anything.
Wow. It said believe in yourself on the scoreboard, but it was like a naked human doing God knows what with a bat. All right.
Miami Mike leaving his nukes of the nights here. He's going with Giannis and Nas Reed, both very popular options, but completely warranted. They're guys I'm getting a ton of exposure to. Presumably, we've already talked about Nas Reed, and we've kind of talked about Giannis a little bit as well. So I think here's one way that we could talk about the Giannis situation here. It's funny. I went to go sort by salary. It doesn't really do a whole lot when you just sort by salary because there's always a bunch of top end guys who are out. So I'll just go back to sorting by projections here. But presumably, Eric, Giannis is your favorite spend up option. If not, who is? And then on the other side, is there somebody you like as a pivot off of Giannis in some lineups?
Giannis by a mile for me, taking on a Minnesota team, missing Gobert. You look at some of the defensive rating shifts that we've had with Gobert off the floor this season. It just makes way too much sense when you get Nas and Julius Randle as your primary defenders to just play a ton of Giannis. Played a pretty light, pretty light card the last few days from a betting perspective. I have so many bets down today. I've already gotten so much pick 'em in already. I'm only going to probably add more too. I mean, it's been a very fanciful day, but 45.5, 46.5 PRA for Giannis across the industry. It's low. I legitimately find that to be low against Minnesota. They don't have Gobert. It's a gigantic deal. So Giannis by a mile for me. Other interesting spend up, if we want to call him that, just because he's in the early game and people don't really want to look at that. Devin Booker gets to take on a Miami team that is still playing at breakneck speed, and 8,700 for him. We're going to see like some interesting rate shifts when, they start to have games that matter more coming down the stretch. This is a Suns team that's really played themselves into contention in a way that I didn't think they were possible of, but Colin Gillespie's definitely muted what his assist rates were supposed to be coming into this year. There were some huge projection models on Devin Booker assists, like, hey, he could lead the league in assists this season. It's a huge long shot bet. And I'm like, no, thank you. Colin Gillespie is doing everything on that end too, but 36 minutes of him against Miami looks really, really nice to me at 10%.
Another thing too is I don't know what percentage of his baskets are assisted, but the rise of Dillon Brooks as a scorer this year and him just holding the ball a lot in his hands, I going to assume that's kind of taken away a little bit from Devin Booker's assist in addition to Gillespie there. But that Suns team has been way better. They missed the playoffs last year. All right, they got rid of Bradley Beal. That was a zero. That didn't really impact. But they got rid of Kevin Durant, who's still legitimately really good, and they got. It's crazy that they dumped Durant and got better.
Yeah, I mean their offensive numbers, like over the course of the season, have been a little lacking still, but defensively, they've gotten so much better without Durant on the floor this year. They're sitting in the top 8 right now in adjusted defensive rating on dunks and threes. They've found ways to just really limit opposition in so many different ways, playing slower paced, which hasn't been good for fantasy stuff necessarily for Devin Booker here either. But I like the pace up spot here. I like the opportunity that he gets going up against a Miami team that just has so many different problems that they're dealing with. I mean, Miami, they're constantly good because Eric Spoelstra is a great coach, but 2019 and just one of the worst shooters at the rim. They have Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo, and they're just horrendous in the paint, which is just so wild to me. A lot of mid-range stuff that they're forced into in lineups like Jaime Jaquez, who still can't shoot threes. But Tyler Hero being back, hopefully as he ramps up, they can kind of find ways to mute that a little bit.
Shout out to Chris Williams, who gifted out 10 YouTube memberships. Chris, who I know has been on a little bit of a heater in the DFS streets. He was saying that he was doing well on some of the night NBA slates, I think, and then some of the 2-game NFL slate. So Chris, long-time supporter of the channel. Thank you very much. For everybody else who wants to know some of the best ways to support us for a cost of $0, like the video and subscribe to the channel, or go download the Tails app, tail some of Eric and I's bets, or just download the app and look at some of the DFS content put out there. Like Josh puts out a bunch of DFS content, EMAC does. And then if you're really enjoying your experience over on Tails, leave us a 5-star rating. Maybe also write 1 or 2 nice sentences of a review. These are all things that just take like 30 seconds to 2 minutes of your time and cost $0. So if you do any of that, it is very much appreciated. And now let's get into, one more super chat here. So let's answer this, and then we'll get into the Discord questions from some of the stochastic subs. We've got from Zachary Cooper, projections for Golden State, Portland, and Atlanta Lakers FanDuel. All right, so I'll pull this up on screen for you right here. The caveat being LeBron and Luka are both questionable tonight. So that could throw a ton of stuff into, complete disarray for the night slate. But here, let's get it up here. We'll go after hours. We'll go to FanDuel here, and you'll see the top projected player. It's by a mile, Luka, 58.66 fantasy points, questionable to play. Because it's not on the main slate, I haven't put too much thought into it, Eric. Luka kind of hinted at him sitting last night, but they also haven't ruled him out yet. So maybe they're really just going to look to see how he feels closer to lock. LeBron has said that for as long as he plays, he's going to be questionable in back-to-backs for the rest of his career. Do you have any leans on LeBron and Luka being in or out?
99% LeBron doesn't play is probably the right number. Luka, I've got closer to around like 65, 70. I'm not as confident as I am Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray kind of splitting the difference of the two, but LeBron hasn't played after a late start to his season, has not played on a back-to-back yet this year. And we've got Luka, who he needs to just absolutely try to put the team on his back. But without Austin Reeves out there too, there's just some of these spots where it's like, all right, we could really go out and grind, play 38 minutes, and then have a competitive back and forth. But there are some easy games coming up for them. I think it's truly just getting to the All-Star break, getting LeBron healthy, getting Austin Reeves back, and kind of figuring it out from there. I think as far as seeding goes, they're still in a decent spot. 23-14 had a really nice start to their season. A lot of that was Austin Reeves just taking another step up in his game, but they've got a decent enough schedule here coming up as you're looking ahead to it. They play the Hornets on Thursday. They've got a pretty light spot in the schedule here coming up where, a lot of primetime stuff, like they'll play Boston on the road and such, but they've got Brooklyn, they've got Washington, they've got Cleveland, they've got Chicago. They've got some real easy spots on this road trip that they've got coming up. So overall, I think more unlikely to play Luka, sitting around that 65-70% number.
And here's what we got for projections. I go by position. The top projected point guard, obviously Luka, followed by Steph Curry at 42 fantasy points. At shooting guard, our top projected shooting guard, it is Shaedon Sharpe at 37 fantasy points, followed by Dyson Daniels at just under 35. At small forward, Jalen Johnson at 49. Then we got LeBron at 42 and change. Once again, questionable, likely going to be sitting today. Power forward, everybody's got, almost always anybody who's small forward is power forward on FanDuel as well. So it's all the same guys at the top at power forward. Then at center, we've got Onyeka Okongwu for 35.85 fantasy points, Donovan Clingan for 34.18. So Zachary Cooper, those are the top projected players that we have for the night slate there over on FanDuel. Let's get to some of the questions in Discord now, Eric, and we'll see what it is that's waiting there for us. And we've got, scroll back, we've got a bunch of them here. All right, Einsteinium wants to know Conley or Dillingham for today. I prefer Conley.
Yeah, I prefer Conley. I do think Dillingham's like, we'll see what happens with the Jamal Murray news and things of that nature, but like, I've always been a big Rob Dillingham guy, and it's just weird that it hasn't worked out. I loved him at Kentucky. I was so excited when the Timberwolves went out of their way to go get him in the draft, and it's just been a flat nothing so far. And again, Bones Highland playing massive minutes over him is never a good sign, because I definitely have my opinions on him as well. Rob might just need a different spot, a spot where he can actually get some minutes, work through whatever these defensive issues are that they've got with him that have kept him off the floor, where, if you're not going to be playing good defense in that backcourt right now, you're just not going to find a way out there when they've got Ant. But I probably would say no. I have 0 of him right now in 150, but I'd be all right if you wanted to sprinkle a couple in there. But yeah, there's no way that I would be prioritizing him in any way, shape, or form on this slate.
Larson 407 wants to know on small slates, where do we go to get different or make some stands outside of just projection? So late swap is always going to be one. Just the field doesn't late swap as much as they should. So those late swaps are going to be the number one for me that kind of differentiates lineups, especially now, although I get for today, the games are really close together, so won't have as much of an impact, especially with there only being one game that locks at 7:30, but also have the live scoring turned on in the late swap. I have found that that'll give me some contrarian lineups for lineups that were otherwise like not expected to do super well if they've got some chalk pieces that don't do well in the early games. So that's something that plays a little bit of a factor. And then on occasion, Eric and I will both do this. There'll be players who we think are worth taking shots on that are low owned that will give ROI boosts to. The other thing too, though, that I think is worth pointing out, I very frequently just play a lot of chalk in NBA DFS. Like, look at the highest owned players for today in our ownership projections right now. Bones Highland, 82% on. I'm playing Bones Highland a lot. Nas Reed, Aaron Gordon, Julius Randle, Mike Conley, Giannis. Like, these are all guys I'm going to be playing a lot of. You don't have to avoid the chalk in NBA DFS. Now, if there's, once again, like one or two guys that you like for one reason or another, you want to give ROI boost to, totally cool. But don't think you have to get massively different in NBA DFS. The players are much more projectable than they are in other sports, and there isn't as much variance.
Absolutely. And it's actually kind of why I'm happy. I wouldn't say proud because that would be a pathetic word to use, but over the course of the last 3 months, I'm very happy with the fact that I've been able to give great nukes of the nights. I start my process for the next day's slate before we even get on this program. Like, I don't have enough hours in the day otherwise to be able to like do a video at night and to be able to actually give actionable bets and to be like give good information unless I start that very, very early. And then, my wife's pregnant. I definitely have things that I need to do around the house and make sure that I'm in order with things. So I'm very happy with the fact that I've looked at the slate already by now for like 13, 14 hours. Like, that's a legitimate fact. And you start to see where maybe there's a little bit of a crack, where there's maybe a little bit of a faulty side, or there's just a massive upside waiting for a guy. And we've been able to identify like those one or two guys. And otherwise, I'm playing a lot of chalk surrounding my one or two stands. Like, that's another thing I do a ton, is just find the 1 point of deviation or where maybe you think the weak spot is, downgrade somebody, upgrade somebody else, boom, play 6 pieces of chalk around it and hope it just runs somewhat neutral and you're in a good spot.
And let's see what else we've got in Discord. There's a handful of questions here. So here's what we'll do. We'll answer the handful of questions that I've got queued up in Discord, and then we'll run the nuke of the night. We've got here from Qzuna. He wants to know, he says that we've been great at 2v2s this year. So he's got one for us. Giannis and Trey Jones, who? Or Şengün and De'Aaron Fox. Give me the Giannis side.
Yep, love it. Giannis, definitely.
J-Rock wants to know who I'm going with for King of the Court. So I went with Jalen Johnson tonight. Eric, King of the Court, is there anybody that stands out to you as a player who you think should have the most PRA? It's always hard because you try to factor in ownership and who people are going to pick. And then during the slate, DraftKings Sportsbook, usually from their Twitter account, posts what the payouts would be, and they don't align at all with what you think they would be. Yeah. Where in terms, it's like, there was one where it was in between LeBron and somebody else a couple of weeks ago. And you would have thought that LeBron would be way more popular because he had like the 6th highest PRA on the slate, and whoever was that he was, it was Trey Murphy. It was like LeBron and Trey Murphy were neck and neck towards the tail end of his slate. And LeBron had like inside the top 10 PRA on the slate, and Trey Murphy was like 30th in terms of his over-under for PRA. And the payout for LeBron was higher than the payout for Trey Murphy on that slate. So that's the one part that is really hard. Like, we know the most popular guys, who they're going to be, Luka, Giannis, but beyond that, I always find it to be a little bit tricky. But I did go with Jalen Johnson tonight.
I think that's a good one. He's 3rd in terms of our PRA, but he's so distant behind Giannis. Luka, I don't think plays, so that's kind of off the board here for what we've got. SGA and the Spurs, or going up against the Spurs, who have now beat him twice. I think OKC might give him a little bit more favorable run, even if it's a 15, 16-point game, whereas other times they've shown some restraint in some fourth quarters. I think SGA is kind of interesting for it as well, but I'll go back to my Minnesota guys. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Randall on today's slate because I do think he'll be a little bit too popular for where he should be. We've got one of the biggest negative leverage deals on him, and I took an under on him and pick him at 37.5 PRA. But just saying, Naz Reid, when you don't have Ant out there, Naz Reid, when you know he's going to be playing a lot, there are just these inferno games for Naz Reid where he makes everything from deep. And we've seen them so many times. He has the fastest release in the NBA. It's so fun when he gets hot because the ball gets across half court. DiVincenzo hands it off to him, and it's just in the air immediately. I do think Naz is like an interesting contrarian option for this because I think there's like 40-point upside for Naz in this spot.
I dig it. Okay, are you ready for our first real Glenn Rivers sighting of the year?
Oh God.
He hasn't been relevant, but he has said, Glenn Rivers, a lot of people don't know this, not a real doctor. Not a great basketball coach either. He's a lot of things, but doctor isn't one of them. Neither is a great basketball coach. But according to Glenn Rivers, Giannis will be limited today to around 30 to 31 minutes. Here's my response to that. He's lying. That's what I feel. Now, if the game is not going to be competitive, then I think maybe we see that not be the case. But I tend to think that should this game be close down the stretch of the game, I think we just see Giannis play. But it's not like he normally plays 38 minutes anyway. But I still think we could see 32 to 34 minutes from Giannis in a close competitive game. I'm not going to make too many adjustments for this.
Glenn Rivers is a cuck.
That's one way to put it. He's also a liar. He has over the years, he has constantly lied to us. Do you remember the time Joel Embiid was questionable in the injury report, and a reporter asks him before the game, Joel Embiid, is he going to play today? And Rivers, stunned by the question, is like, why would he not play? And the reporter said, paraphrasing the conversation, well, he's questionable in the injury report. Rivers said, that's news to me. I don't know anything about it. Game starts, which is after lock. Joel Embiid's not on the court. He didn't end up playing that day. And this has kind of been like a constant theme with him over the course of the years. He just said shit to reporters and at press conferences. So I don't want to make major adjustments based on what this goofball is saying. Yeah, absolutely. John the Bettis. Glenn Rivers is a war criminal. 100% absolutely. He should be locked up. Throw him in Guantanamo. But yeah, I don't want to go crazy and say like, oh my God, we have to just crush a Giannis projection because of this.
No, I don't want to. I won't. I refuse to.
Also,
he plays 33 minutes.
Sorry
33 minutes has been the high point since he got back from injury, so I don't really give a shit. Like, it's not like it changes his minutes projection in any kind of way, shape, or form for me, really. And it's not like I expected him to play 35 minutes. Anybody who projected him to play 34, 35 minutes was just playing a broken projection and probably had 100% of him. So you should probably tone that down a bit. But like, this is exactly where we were looking at him being.
Here's something else also. By the way, we had Giannis projected for 32 and a half minutes. So
Correct.
Even if we brought it down, it's not like it would bring him down, but not like in a crazy significant way. The other thing that throws me here or just annoys me is the wording. Try to limit him as if it's like impossible. Like, oh my, like we're gonna work really hard at it. He's not trying to lose 100 pounds. He's not trying to cut weight for a UFC fight. He's just managing rotations. This isn't rocket science. And also, you don't the minutes. It's easy to keep track of. It's not advanced arithmetic. They just add and accumulate. So even then, he says we're going to try to limit his minutes. What if they just try and fail?
I'm not sure if you saw this before the season started, but Tim Legler had Glenn Rivers on for the first edition of like this thing that he was trying to run. I haven't seen it since, which is ironic, but maybe they just quit doing it. But Tim Legler had him and they were breaking down film, and Glenn Rivers, all it is a flare screen for AJ Green. Like, it's just a flare screen. A flare screen is basically when you go up and set a screen on somebody, they go backside to the 3-point line, basically to, the break. And well, it was just this normal rotational flare screen. And he tried to break it down as though, our offense, we really like to ingest this style. And this is what we're going to do with Miles Turner. And Miles Turner's been terrible. And like, they have not utilized him correctly in any way, shape, or form. So like, basically, he has no clue what he's doing. He's just really, really, really good at convincing front offices that he's the guy for the job. And hey, that's a skill too, is, being able to be a good con man. And that's what he is. So shout out Glenn Rivers for not knowing basketball at all.
Let's see what else we have here. We've got, Hey, I'm Drew wants to know the top DK cash game plays today. Yeah, some of this is pretty easy. I mean, Bones Highland, Naz Reid, Aaron Gordon, Julius Randle. I'd say lock all those guys into cash. I'd still say play Giannis in cash too. Oh boy, Eric's beside himself. Starting lineup for the Miami Heat. It is Davion Mitchell, Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, Andrew. Is that what you were aggrieved about or something?
Nope, sure isn't.
Yeah, some of us already knew that was going to be the case, to be fair. One of you took some victory laps the other day. One of the two of us knew that Jamal Murray was playing today, in fairness. Pelle Larson coming off the bench too.
I do not give a shit about Pelle Larson.
Oh boy, here we go. Setting up. You were confident though. You were confident here.
80%. Again, minus 500 favorites lose. That's a thing that happens.
Look at that. Look. Oh boy. Yeah, Eric's gonna get trolled for the rest of the show now. So on
I already did. I had people asking me who's the father of my child, and I banned them all. So that's tough breaks for you. Enjoy your life, you fucking peasant.
Yep, Jamal Murray will be playing today. The good thing about this now, from a standpoint of news now, is that once the next projection update comes, we don't have any other like really significant news that we're waiting on for the rest of the night here.
Shit.
Mega Elite. Thoughts on SGA as a lower owned pay up option? Fine, but I prefer Wemby as my lower owned pay up option.
Yeah, I like Wemby too.
All right, we've got empty pockets. How much ROI average are you willing to sacrifice in order to increase your uniques? It's always going to be different on a slate to slate basis. Like I don't want to play negative ROI lineups. I also don't want it to go down from like my lineup average being, like say like 75% to 30% or something. It's a little bit of a moving target. But most importantly, I don't want to have negative ROI lineups. I don't want to be getting lineups that have like 50, 60% less sim ROI. I don't know if you have like a more exact answer, Eric.
Nope, I surely don't.
All right, John the Bettis for the big $5. Do I set the contest archetype at low stakes, in between low stakes and marquee is where I go for the $5. Mayor says, Eric, people are just going to pile on about other things now. Mayor in the chat says, Eric, you talk too much unnecessary stuff. Just answer the damn question. Nobody cares. So I'll defend Eric here. Eric is still a little bit aggrieved by Jamal Murray being in. We do have an hour here. If we just straight up talked nothing, but the show could be 2 minutes long if we were just like, here are my two favorite point guards. Here are my two favorite shooting guards, small forward, power forward, flip over to FanDuel. And then just, we're trying to do an entertaining show and have some fun along the way as well. So,
I'm having so much fun right now. Everybody's great.
Eric's having
fun. We're having so much enjoyable content. It's great. I'm really enjoying my day.
Yeah, and somebody here, Paul from the, he wants you banned.
Somebody gave us a $5 super chat and I banned them. That was fun.
I didn't. I'll have to get back to the super chats here in a second. But two more questions left for us to catch up on from the Discord channel. Which, by the way, if you guys do want to sign up for any of the packages at Stokast and get access to our Discord channel, links to sign up are down below in the YouTube description box. Battery on de Flesta. What products do I use in your hair? Shampoo and conditioner.
Goes on first and cleans the hair. Conditioner is better. I make the hair silky.
Shampoo is better. No, conditioner is better.
Conditioner is better.
Conditioner is better.
Conditioner is always better. Shampoo's always kind of like it's a cleaning. It's a cleaning thing. I like the smooth, silky, nice little ride. You glide it through your hair. My hair is long right now. I need a haircut very badly. Should probably book that.
M Grizzly wants to know anybody that we're boosting tonight. I'll circle back on this. I have to re-update my lineups for all of the latest news that we have that's come in. And I think we had a projections update from 10 minutes ago that I haven't taken into account. But we've got all the news. I don't think I'm going to be making massive amounts of boosts for today, Eric. It's going to more so be seeing what happens post-lock and what, the starting lineup ends up being for. I don't think we have a starting line for the Bucks yet, do we?
No, we don't.
Yeah. So it'll be more reacting to the news and doing late swaps based on whoever the Bucks start.
I mean, really what this is like, our show is going to be done at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm just going to sit here for 30 minutes and then swap 10 minutes before, just kind of based on some stuff. I mean, we got Sadiq Bey back in our lives, I suppose. That might mute some things where I might have looked at some contrarian options on the New Orleans side, 235.5 total, 234.5, kind of wherever you're looking. OKC, I think, has some variations. Maybe Aaron Wiggins doesn't start, but there's some ways where, maybe AJ Mitchell could look a little bit more interesting. I was going through the data. Have you seen how bad they've shot the basketball this year? It's been horrible. OKC shooting like 28% from three in the new year. It's pretty absurd.
Just because I found this funny, and then we'll get to the rest of the super chat. Greg needs corn rolls.
What are the rolls?
You've been misinformed on some things over the course of your life there, my friend.
You need to inform us of some things, because I want to
Yeah.
know what a corn roll is. That would be really fun.
That's just when somebody curls their hair with actual corn. I guess that's what it is.
Is it like ethanol? Is
All
that
right.
kind of what we're doing? Okay, good.
Let's see. What was the last? Okay, so here's where we left off with the super chats. Clinton Leatherwood wants to know, can I fade Kuzma in 150 lineups? And then says thanks equal Eric's tails equals cash money. Longtime supporter is a Clint of Eric's Discord channel. So can you fade him? I don't recommend it. We don't know what the starting lineup is. There's a chance he starts though.
Yeah, it's tough to not play some in 150. When you're talking about like fading a guy in 150 who's actually going to pull any type of ownership here, it's tough. Like Bobby Portis is the main guy that you're paying attention to, but like it's such a weird situation to imagine Bobby Portis starting in a game where Giannis is active, because I feel like that's the main times we've seen Bobby Portis in our lives. And I will say this, I think even coming off the bench, Kyle Kuzma, not somebody that I'm going to be writing off entirely, because there's just so many ways. This is just such a weaker Minnesota front court without Rudy Gobert out there. Like, it just, there's no way, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This game environment, no, it's only a 230 total. We just got done with like a 240 plus total against the Cavs. They played last time out on Sunday, but I'm very here for pretty much everything Minnesota, Milwaukee.
And we have a question from Bruce here related to it. Just says, name all of the players in the Minnesota rotation today. So here's all the players that we are projecting to play minutes for Minnesota. We have. All right. So our projected rotation for Minnesota: Julius Randle, Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Jaden McDaniels, Bones Highland, Mike Conley, Jalen Clark. And then we've got Behringer, and these guys now are getting like pretty fringy once you get to Jalen Clark. But Behringer, Dillingham, and then we've also got a few minutes going to Leonard Miller at the end of the bench. So in terms of which of these guys are relevant, it's going to be the 5 starters plus Bones Highland. Those are the relevant guys. Rob Strum says, Eric's wife is pregnant. Congrats. Who is the dad? King of the single bullet, Jamal Murray. In fact, actually, there you go.
But I banned him. Thanks, Rob Strum. Thanks for your super chat. Fucking bitch. Go ahead.
Kevin Clunan, thoughts on Portis? Playable.
Yeah.
Once again, I want to see the starting lineup to know like who the priorities are going to be from the Bucks. But yeah, he's absolutely playable. There's no Miles Turner.
Yep. Big time.
What do we got next? 1-2 says, I'm 80% sure Eric is a great host.
Funny. That made me laugh. I saw that
That's
one.
a clever one.
That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. Also, fuck you, bitch. Same thing. Another one.
We've got, I love this request. Dustin Stringer needs an exotic play of the night. This is a good time. We're gonna do a couple of things back to back here. First, for our guy Dustin, the exotic player of the night, and then we'll hit the nuke of the night right afterwards. But Dustin, you're absolutely the best.
Going to financially recover from this.
You know, in all seriousness, that is some of the animation. They're very clutch to play when I have to update some lineups and make some changes. That 30 to 45 seconds I get, it can be invaluable. So Eric, Dustin left us a super chat. He has to know who is the exotic play of the night today.
Dante DiVincenzo. Fun bit. Real fun bit. Really glad we did this bit. This is always fun.
Devin Booker's light skin. Does that count for anything?
Jesus, Greg.
I'm going Devin Booker. I'm going Devin Booker today.
Jesus Christ. Let's just, we got 16 minutes left. Great.
All right, Eric, it is time for something that can only be described as the best content that Eric has been putting out for a little while now. And I don't even mean that in a derogatory way. I mean it simply as Eric has been crushing his nukes of the nights this year. And it's just been a nonstop train that, much like the juggernaut, it just cannot be slowed down. He just gets more and more powerful as we roll around here. So, Eric, who are you going with for your nuke of the night? The people need to know.
Yeah, so I think there's some really, really good options as far as like what we can go to, what we could potentially have here. And with Saddiq Bey back, you know what? Actually, I'm going to pivot in the middle of this, like in the middle of a nuke of the night, because I don't know. This New Orleans side just feels like nobody's playing it against Denver. Denver doesn't have Jokic out there. They're going to get Jamal Murray out, which probably helps the competitiveness of this game. Denver's 2.5 point favorites to some extent. And I mean, if he had been out, I really would have wished I had bet New Orleans here. That is for sure. But I think there's like a two-prong kind of way of looking at this. Either the New Orleans Pelicans hate Derek Queen, or Derek Queen, power forward center eligible, is going to be eternally in play on every slate from now until forever. And now you get a better shooter in Saddiq Bey out there, and not somebody who's going to create his own shot in Saddiq Bey. That's got to help a little bit of the assist rate of what we're looking at for Derek Queen on the floor, rather than getting a Jordan Poole out there for any kind of market minutes. And I just feel as though he's really underutilized in this Denver spot against a Denver front court that is utilizing Aaron Gordon at the 5. And this is actually one of those spots again, like Zion, Derek Queen, where it makes some sense and it's just fine to do it. But just feels like I'm always going to play this guy every slate. He's like 67, 69, 7K. And now it's started to come down a little bit, sitting around 6,600. It's nice to see 35-minute type upside for him. And the other thing with New Orleans is we've had some really, for lack of a better word, fuckery going on with some of their minutes. They're on a back-to-back. And I always get worried about like what we actually see from like the Evis Missy side, or they try to like limit Derek Queen's minutes or limit Zion or something of that nature. I think we could just get like balls to the wall from them here in this spot. They play Brooklyn tomorrow, and they could play Brooklyn with anybody that they want, including not Zion, and be in a pretty decent spot. I wanted to go Zion. I wanted to go Derek Queen. I'm just going to kind of make them both co-nuke of the nights.
I'm going Wemby for today. So one of the main reasons for this is when you get the $5 or the $8 on DraftKings is the main contest today. It's the $5. You have to beat out a gazillion people. It is so many people to beat out. And I found that one of the easiest paths to doing it in these really, really large fields contests is finding pay-up options, especially on slates that have a lot of value, is finding some of these pay-up options that we know have a lot of upside. The field just isn't really gravitating towards. Here's our final projected owner. Actually, we have one more ownership update here, but it's about the same for Wemby. Okay, here we go. Now we got it on screen. Wemby is sub 10% owned. He's 9.6% owned on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, where he gets the benefit of the extra point from the defensive stats, he's just over 10% owned. So do I think that Wemby should project as well as Giannis or SGA today? No, but his upside is just as high as those guys, if not higher. But because the floor is a little bit lower, because what his minutes have been lately, the field is kind of backing off him a little bit. I think the ceiling remains unchanged here, and I want to go after it. So I'll be overweight to a fairly low-owned Wemby, who is very seldomly going to be sub 10% owned at a $9,500 price tag.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I think even on DraftKings, you're kind of talking me into maybe a little bit more 9,500. again, it's a $600 difference between FanDuel, which, wouldn't be crazy to highlight. But I mean, the thing about FanDuel is you have blocks getting 3, and that is a big deal with Wemby. But I look at 9,500 for him. They've had OKC's number for the first 2. I feel like the other shoe is going to drop, but there's no Hartenstein, even though they really did opt away from a lot of Hartenstein going up against Wemby in some of those spots. It was some weird rotations when you went through like the NBA Cup. And then last time around, I mean, it's just been ridiculous. It's been ridiculous what we've seen from them. I like the idea of a little bit more Wemby in my life than I've currently got.
Yeah, so I'm doing one more run because I had 52% of Wemby in my last run.
Like
I like him a lot.
45% Mark Williams. I need to get that out of my life.
Yeah, I like
Holy
Wemby a lot.
shit.
I don't know that I want him to be in more than half of my lineups, but I do want to be at least 2x the field on Wemby. So I'm going to do a rerun here and see what I end up getting. I think I gave him a little bit too much in the minutes department there, but I am changing it around a little bit. Let's get to the rest of your guys' questions. Back to the super chats. We had Dustin's is where we left off, one of the better ones of the night. You're a towel. Holmgren viable on FanDuel. Play him and Wemby in the same lineup. Holmgren's okay. He's not really a priority for me, though.
No, he's fine. And obviously, San Antonio playing OKC, better chance of it staying competitive, even though I know we've seen the Hornets beat them as like 18-point dogs, and we've seen some ridiculous stuff. Again, Oklahoma City has shot the ball horrendously so far over the course of the last 3 weeks, so far this season, or so far in the 2026. But Holmgren, definitely a distant piece for FanDuel.
And let's see what we have next. Anthony Davis, who is not going to require his hand to be operated on. He says cornrows are braids. Yes, but that is not what he said. He said corn rolls, not cornrows.
Yep. That's why we were joking around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't have fun anymore. God forbid we read the super chat it wasn't the message that we wanted. It was the message we received, and we had to comment about such things.
Yes, he did say corn rolls. Corn rolls is what he said.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Brian Rogers, difference between marquee and in between low. Likewise for 30 to 35%. Today's $5, 33%. What factors are changing in the sim? Are these just preferences? No. So the difference between marquee and in between low is going to change what the projected ownership is, because in general, lower dollar contests tend to be a little bit softer. The best points per dollar plays don't get owned quite as much in tournaments that have lower buy-ins. And then if you go to something like $1,000 buy-in, you're going to find the field be much sharper, and the highest points per dollar players, they end up pulling a lot more ownership. So it does do something in that respect. And then for the percentage payout to first, it's not a preference. It's actually like, what is the percentage payout to first? You mentioned it's 33%. So in general, you want to go to whichever one is closer. And 33% is a little bit closer to 35% than 30%. So I run it at 35% for the big contest. Also, it's such a top-heavy contest, and there's so many entries in it that I also kind of like skewing it that way anyway. JR, no one is talking about Zeke Naji. Yeah, because he's not a great option today. Am I missing something, Eric? Should we be playing Zeke Naji?
So I like him as a bet. I do not like him as a DFS play. Two very different things. I bet is like 8.5 points. I still think that's pretty viable. Aaron Gordon is not going to be like full blast ready to rock, even though Aaron Gordon, I mean, it's just kind of interesting watching what's happened with his ownership over the course of the day. I feel like it was just getting ramped up, but he got to 32 minutes, and Aaron Gordon has played the 4 for however many years. They're still going to play a lot of lineups where Zeke Naji slides in. He played 28 minutes last game, played really well against Milwaukee, and against the Pelicans. I mean, this is definitely a spot on the interior where Zeke Naji should do all right scoring, but he's 4,300. I can't imagine that if 4,300, he's any kind of a priority. I know he's put up 41 and a half here in a couple of these spots. But Aaron Gordon wasn't in for that first one. And the last one, he played completely nuclearly well. I'm just making it a bet. I really don't want to play him at 4,300 at center.
All right. We've got here Nicholas Barrett, FanDuel. Can I play Conley and Bones? Yeah, you can absolutely play on this.
I want to make one amendment to what I said too. there's a chance Zeke Nnaji could start next to Aaron Gordon. Like, it wouldn't be completely unlikely. In the event that he starts, completely different conversation piece. And obviously then I'm going to get crazy CLV on 8.5 points there for Zeke. But in the event that he doesn't start, there's just not a chance that I do that. But like Murray, Watson, Aaron Gordon, those are 3 guys that I feel very confident start. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. starts for what it's worth, but then there's a chance they slide Zeke Nnaji in going up against, they're on a back-to-back too. So keep that in mind. Like, there's definitely a world where they might want to rest Aaron Gordon tomorrow, and there could be very limited minutes on the Zeke Nnaji side, but just kind of a push and pull where I think the range of outcomes was nice for Zeke, just for a bet, not from a DFS perspective.
Kid Stu left a super chat. There is no question here, but I did find him in the YouTube chat asking for the top DK tiers options. So let's roll out our favorite plays in tiers, pulling that up here. And for tiers, tier 1 for me, that is going to be Giannis.
Yeah, definitely Giannis for me. Glenn Rivers be damned. Send him to hell.
Tier 2, Şengün.
Şengün.
Tier 3 for me, that'll be Julius Randle.
It's Randle, even though I'm a little lower on him. It's just a ridiculous spot for him here to be in tier 3.
All right, I'm gonna have to look for tier 4 of all
I've
these
got
guys.
Fox, Adebayo, Holmgren, Castle, Hero, Watson. Would have been Watson for me. It's going to be De'Aaron Fox.
I'm gonna go with Bam for tier 4.
Okay.
Tier 5, we've got Powell, Rollins, Queen, Gordon, Smith, DiVincenzo, Buzelis. Let's see for this one. I think that's Gordon.
He's a killer. Queen, but it's going to be Gordon probably. Just projects better.
Yep, that'll be Aaron Gordon for me. And then finally, tier 6, Wiggins, Brooks, Ware, Reed. Okay, I'll just
what a dumb tier. What a dumb tier.
Reed it is.
If Naz Reid doesn't play well today, I mean, I can't make him nuke of the night when he's 6,100 in the second most popular play, but like, I have 100% Naz Reid tonight. There's just playing 100% of him.
Now back to Discord, so we could answer as many of these as we can before we get to lock. We've got Qzona wants to know any interest in stars and scrubs and throwing a dart at Jericho Sims. So I definitely think that stars and scrubs lineups make sense for today. Unless Jericho Sims starts, I don't have interest in him. He's not a good fantasy producer. But as far as stars and scrubs lineups goes, absolutely. We've got a $3,000 Mike Conley. We've got a $3,100 Bones Highland for today. You've got like Kyle Kuzma could be starting at $4,300. It's absolutely a viable slate to go stars and scrubs. Not to mention you got Giannis, Wemby, and SGA on the slate.
Yeah, and I mean, Alperen Şengün back in our lives, 9,100 against the Bulls. So another guy that I really liked on this slate that we haven't really even said his name yet. So I like a lot of these power forwards. You can play power forward, center, forward, utility. I'm going to have 4 of those guys in a ton of lineups today. I like Zion. I like Derek Queen. I like Şengün. I mean, Giannis, obviously. It's just a ridiculously good power forward slate.
Comment God, in The Sims, do I adjust the contest archetype to high stakes for chalky lineups and low stakes for more contrarian lineups? No. You adjust that depending on the buy-in of the contest you're in, not to get chalky or more contrarian lineups. You do it based on the buy-in of the tournament. Einsteinium, how much usage could we see from... Oh, so he just left this. Murray's playing, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Corn rolls.
Yeah. Yeah, he asked about usage for Tim Hardaway Jr. If there's no... Murray for today. It's funny. You do some of these shows. We talk a lot. We say a lot of things over the course of the show. Oftentimes after I don't even remember all the things we said. And you never know what it is that people gravitate towards or end up sticking. But corn rolls seems like a thing now. People are all hyped about the corn rolls in chat. You see here, John Daly. He's posting corn rolls there. We've got here also Sotex. I know I'd rather have corn rolls over cakes and pies. So
corn cakes are delicious. Get off your entitled high horse, you Southern belle. Come on now. They're delicious.
There's a lot of corn rolls talk here. By the way, we've only got a couple minutes left to go here, guys. If you have not done yet, do us a big favor. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please check Eric and I out over on Tails, because if you aren't, you're leaving some free money on the table. I'm posting a ton of winning bets over there. Eric's got some stuff behind the paywall, but also stuff in front of the paywall. Also, he's posting regular pick'em cards, whether it be prize picks or underdog on different days, sometimes some other stuff that stands out to him on an individual day. He also posts for free. So go check it out. And then also all of the guys here are on Tails. Josh, Lofty, Ben, EMAC is posting his article written content over to Tails as well. So go check it. It is totally free to go and use Tails. And also, we've got an app. Also, totally free. If you want to get my bets before the lines move, just turn on notifications and follow me. They'll get sent to your phone and you'll get the bets before any of the lines move or anything like that. All right, Eric, about a minute left to go here. What makes you uncomfortable about your lineups, if anything? Is there anybody that you were overexposed to? Do you think you go poorly? Or the inverse, is there somebody you're underweight to the field to who you think might end up ruining your night?
I'll talk about a low-owned guy. Again, power forward is just absolutely loaded today. I have so many tournament plays that I want to play at that specific position. I still think I'm going to roll out quite a bit of Peyton Watson. I'm kind of rerunning some stuff here. Gordon, Watson, two guys there. Pelicans, talked about Zion, Queen, both power forward, Giannis. And then didn't even bring up the two most popular ones, Julius Randle, Naz Reid. And Naz Reid, I'm playing an eternal amount, not 100% anymore. I just reran it. 85% I got for him in 20 max. And then 150, I'm probably going to roll out something similar, but I'm going to deal with that after this show. So it's hard for me to talk about it a little bit more concretely. But the guy who could probably kill me the most is in the event that Glenn Rivers is just a douche rag and decides to play Giannis like 28 minutes. That would really suck. He's still like the best guy to spend up for, I think, on this slate. Might have to just trim his ownership just as a result of like him being the most expensive. And I just like everybody at this position. But if for whatever reason we get a starting lineup that is just complete douchebaggery from Minnesota where Naz Reid is not starting or Bones Highland's not starting, it would very much surprise me. But dumber things have happened when this isn't a situation that happens very frequently. So pay attention to lineups as they roll out. Bones Highland, otherwise probably going to be in nearly 100% for me as well.
Yeah, so the one for me is he was my nuke of the night. So Wemby. So I have 35% of Wemby. He's only 10% owned. So in the event that Wemby just starts but doesn't play a ton of minutes, that would be
Conley starting over Bones.
We had that projected to be the case. It doesn't change anything.
Oh, it does for me. So now back to the drawing board for Eric. This is fun. I mean, Conley has started a lot for Ant, but I thought maybe they needed something that wasn't 40 plus years old out on the floor, but guess not.
Nah, it's it is how we had it projected. So if anybody's like panicking, this is what our projections won't change for this. It is what we were anticipating in our projections.
Then I'm still playing them.
Yeah. Bones still is going to show up in a shit ton of lineups. But guys, that is going to do it for us. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Good luck with all your lineups. Eric and I, we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Later.